What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. We cover political news for the most part, but today I bring you Trump derangement syndrome.
If they literally wheel him out, you would still vote for him.
Kamala Harris, Jill could walk out on stage with an urn saying, "This is the president." Okay, Joe Biden. Okay. Here he is, and I say, "Man, this is really annoying."
Destiny, you can't be serious.
Joe Biden said he wanted to be FDR, so, you know, die in office, I guess.
Yes, okay, so we're covering another debate. I'm loving these because they get a lot of views, but other than that, you know, to be honest with you, normally Destiny is a pretty based guy, right? Like, he's a lefty, you know, whatever with that. He's on the left, but he usually only argues facts, right? He generally doesn't get into opinion, but when it comes to Trump, he's got Trump derangement syndrome, just like most of the left, like pretty much all of the left, has outright Trump derangement syndrome. They can't stand anything he does. I don't know why, right? Like, because Trump, sure, he may be bombastic a lot, and he may exaggerate a lot of things, right? Like, they were CNN trying to call out Trump on his quote-unquote lies when they, like, 90% of that was just exaggerations. Like, come on, now we can differentiate between an exaggeration and a lie now. You don't have to just call it a lie and be done with it. But let's get into this debate, because normally, like I said, I don't have any angle to come in on Destiny because he generally argues facts. But when it comes to Trump, holy crap, what are you doing here, Destiny? I like Destiny, to be honest with you, but let's go ahead and get into see what the hell he's talking about. And if you wonder why I'm trying to talk so fast, because I admire that about Destiny, to be honest with you. The fact that he can talk so damn fast and still be clear and concise with what he says. Let's get into it.
For after decades of saying, "Oh, we need to limit the power of government. Oh, we need to limit the power," say, well, maybe the president should actually be above most criminal prosecution. Also, as a quick thing, you keep saying that, no, it's just partial immunity for official acts. What is an official act of the president? If you actually listen to the oral arguments that were presented before the Supreme Court, what that act even is and the ability to even probe for it is stuff right now that is now presumed.
Quick interjection just to answer that right fast, because Michael Knowles or nobody else does it. An official act is any constitutionally authorized action that the president may take. Let's go.
To be immune. For instance, just a real quick thing. When Donald Trump is asking Pence, "Hey, can you throw out the election because I don't like the results?" which is a real thing that happened, by the way. As much as Trump's like to say that's not true, that is counted as an official action because these are the roles of the president and vice president, deciding how to count the electoral votes. That is insanity to me. If Biden were to do anything even remotely similar, Republicans would lose their minds.
Yes, of course, that is an official act. That is what the president is supposed to do. He is in charge of upholding the law. He is in charge of upholding the Constitution. Now, I had to dig deep to get answers on this. Once again, this is the only reason why I'm still backing Trump. Like, I've always been kind of a Trump fan, right? But after January 6th and after all that stuff came out, you know, trying to overturn the election stuff, I was like, holy crap, like, why would he do that? And it took loads of research for me to research into this, going back to historical documents and all kinds of other stuff to figure out that Trump wasn't trying to technically overturn the election. I mean, sure, you can call it that if you want to call it that, but what he was actually doing is there was some states in 2020, and once again, you can go look this up if you don't believe me, that some states still contested the electoral vote count. Right? The state legislature, it was still contested, but the governors sent the electoral vote anyway, so that was still contested. And what Trump told Mike Pence to do was don't certify those states that are still contesting the electoral vote count. You don't have to count those states. He was legally authorized to do that. That is an official act, and he had every right to do so. Once again, calling it trying to overturn an election, it's insane to you. No, just because it's not done, because there's never been fraud go on like there was in this election. Or, as you know, I say fraud, it wasn't technically fraud because why? The Democrats changed the rules and changed, basically made fraud legal in that election. We know that. We know they hired hordes of lawyers, hordes of activists to go around and change rules, change laws, in some cases, like in Pennsylvania, without the authorization of the state legislature. Which, that still pisses me off till this day because the Supreme Court refused to look at that case. Why? That is something that needs to be answered. However, Donald Trump telling Mike Pence to not certify those electoral votes counts from the states that were still contesting the election is an official duty. That is something that the president is supposed to do. Supposed to uphold the law, uphold the Constitution, and it's just mind-blowing that Destiny doesn't know that, right? Like, you gotta think, of course he's got to know this, right? He says he reads this whole opinion out, but I'm not sure if he did. Let's keep going, though.
Have you read the decision? I know it just came out this morning, but have you gone through the decision yet?
I read up to page 25, and part of it, I can read it out to you. He explicitly calls out that whenever the president and vice president discuss their official responsibilities, they engage in official conduct, meaning that presiding over the January 6th certification proceeding, at which members yes, so that did count as official conduct. So if you thought that he was trying to do a coup, try to steal the election by saying, hey, do you think you can throw those votes out? Well, that's beyond prosecution.
You can dispute or object to any actions that Trump takes, but it is simply the case that when a president is carrying out his duties and is speaking to his subordinates in the White House, that is obviously official business. If he were to bring in a bunch of, I don't know, drug dealers and hookers or something, that would probably be an unofficial crime, not related to his duties as president. And the reason that this matters and why it's really a moderate decision is because it goes back about 40 years to Nixon versus Fitzgerald, which found out that the president, yes, indeed, has quite a lot of immunity from at least from civil liability. And then the reason that this is such a novel bombshell case is because until Joe Biden tried to throw his rival into the clink, we didn't prosecute presidents because that's the kind of behavior typical of banana republics and tin pot dictatorships. But the argument, and I'm sure you've read this, even if you've just read the first 25 pages, goes all the way back to the Marshall Court. It goes all the way back to the finding that the presidency does have certain privileges. It's not totally beholden to the other two branches of government. It's got an executive privilege. We have a separation of powers here. It goes back to the Federalist Papers when the framers of the Constitution said that they need a vigorous presidency because the problem with the first American Republic, which was the Articles of Confederation, was that you didn't have any strong executive power. So this is not something new. This is a perfectly in keeping with the American legal tradition. And now the Democrats are really upset about it, not because it's an upending of American jurisprudence, but because they're going to actually have to run on their guy. They're not going to be able to cheat and throw the guy in jail or take him banish him to St. Helena. They're going to have a fair and square election, and they know they're going to lose it.
Yeah,
can I just ask a quick question? I just want to hear just a quick question.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if a president were to order the assassination of a presidential opponent in an election, you're telling me that if he thinks it's for national security reasons, you defend that as being above any kind of review for criminal prosecution? You would say, well, that was an official act as president.
I'll answer that right quick. Yes, as a matter of fact, it would be. That is the answer to that question. If it's a genuine threat to national security, yeah, you would expect the president to do so. They do it all the time, right? Like we kill terrorists overseas all the time. They're no actual threat to our national security. Why? Because they're on the other side of the world. But that doesn't stop past presidents of the United States using drones to strike these people and kill them. They do it all the time. If his political rival is a genuine threat, right? Like he says above any kind of review, you know how many steps that a president has to go through, right? That has to go down the chain of command to probably dozens of people. So yeah, there would be a definite review process, right? If he's going to do a drone strike. Now, if you're talking about the president just stepping out, like they're about to discuss, like Joe Biden pulls out a gun and caps Donald Trump, yeah, I think we're going to have some issues with that. But genuinely, you would have to impeach him first. That is what the impeachment process is for. The left tends to forget about this constantly, right? Like, this is the mind-blowing thing that they're leaving out of all of this. You impeach somebody, right? And if it was something like what I just described, yes, you impeach him, convict him in the Senate, and then you get your prosecutor to go after that person with criminal charges. That is how the process works.
Right. I answer that question. I really want to answer that question.
Obviously,
I can answer you if you don't interrupt. you're bringing up one of the important questions that was raised during the oral arguments, and it's an argument against the case that Trump's team was making, but it doesn't really pertain to the actual judgment that came down, because they didn't say that the president gets to do whatever he wants. He doesn't get to go and assassinate his rivals. He doesn't get to do this, that, or the other thing. But he does have.
Sotomayor had that in her dissent.
Scope.
She said he could do that, and it'd be beyond review. She put that in her dissent. I did read her dissenting opinion.
Yeah, and quick interjection. Yeah, like I covered yesterday, that review was the rantings and ravings of a lunatic, not a Supreme Court justice. Go and read that. Check my video out. If you haven't seen that, go check that video out. It's just outright insane. As a matter of fact, she's talking about, oh, he could make a bribe to overturn an election or blah, blah, blah. And she actually wrote out immune, 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 immune. Wrote all of that out. That is not a Supreme Court justice. That is not a thesis. That is not something a Supreme Court justice should be writing out for a dissent opinion. That is the rantings of a lunatic. But let's keep going.
So how would it be not part of the official job as president? They order drone strikes, don't they? They order the military, don't they? He's the commander-in-chief, isn't he? Why wouldn't he be able to order the strike and say, you can impeach me if you want, but you can't hold me criminally liable. This is my official act as president.
Sure. Well, I mean, even the aspect of impeachment is kind of secondary to that, because the Trump team was arguing that if you want to go after a president at all, you've got to do it through impeachment. And the court said, no, you can actually prosecute former presidents for crimes that they committed in office. So the fever dream that you and other Democrats are creating of what this decision implies is not actually what the court said. The court gave a very moderate opinion that said that certain aspects that are conclusive and preclusive within the scope of the executive branch, he has full immunity, and he's got partial immunity around the peripheries, and then he could be criminally liable outside of that. And if you're asking why, President Trump standing on Fifth Avenue and shooting his rival in the face, how we could possibly prosecute him for that, I think you just don't have any faith in the American legal tradition. And I think you're making an absurd argument to try to justify something that actually does upend over 200 years of America.
Like asking the electoral vote to be thrown out?
Let me bring Francesca in. She's been waiting patiently here as the two guys have been duking it out.
I wanted to leave earlier, but no, I just think it's...
Yeah, so normally I wouldn't do a video like this because Michael Knowles does a pretty good job of laying out the case as to why presidents get immunity, right? But he missed a few talking points. He missed a few facts that I think needed to be said, that needed to be laid out, that Destiny should know, right? I'm not sure why he doesn't know this. Maybe he does know it and he's just forgetting about it, or he's letting his Trump derangement syndrome get in the way. I am not totally sure. But the fact is that, the states that were contesting electoral vote counts, right? But the governor sent them in anyway. That is mind-blowing. Of course, the president has the right to tell the vice president to say, no, you don't have to count those. They are still being contested. But Mike Pence did it anyway, right? Just ignoring what Donald Trump said and going with the establishment, throwing the election into chaos, causing January 6th. But, that's a whole nother issue right there. Like, I really wish those people, that January 6th situation kind of pisses me off, right? Because you've got so many political prisoners that came from that. Right? You got maybe 100 or so people that were fighting with cops trying to break into the building, right? And then the DOJ goes after and has arrested and is still going after over 1,400 people. People that went into the other side of the building, the non-violent side of the building, the totally peaceful side of the building, were being led in by cops, in some cases escorted by cops, and these people went to jail anyway, served prison time for just going to the Capitol and walking around just because some idiots on the other side of the freaking building decided to get a little bit rowdy with cops, right? One of them even got killed, shot by one of those cops, right? They call it a deadly attack. And I'm sick and tired of the corporate press constantly saying the Capitol riot and the Capitol rioters. Oh, Trump wants to free the Capitol rioters. Corporate press, you can go shove that right up your ass, because Most of those people, the vast majority of those people that were there on January 6th that got arrested for January 6th were nonviolent, did not fight with cops, didn't do any of the rioting that you're talking about. Yeah, so it wasn't so deadly, was it? And they constantly put out that lie, oh, but so many cops got killed, 5 or 6 cops got killed. No, you can shove that right up your ass as well, because no, that's not what happened, but we're not going to get into that minutia. We're talking about this, and I've got one more little clip to show you guys the insanity that Destiny brings with this. Check this out.
He is the president of the United States, and he wants to run another 4 years. I mean, Destiny, with all the best will in the world, he'll be lucky to make it to election day. Never mind 4 more years. Can you imagine what Biden will be like in 4 years?
Listen, if they wheel that dude out and he's got an IV drip in him, I'm still voting for him over Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I'd rather Kamala Harris as much as I don't. Yeah, absolutely. What do you mean? It's the idea of not accomplishing anything versus heading off in whatever direction Donald Trump wants to take us. Yeah.
If they literally wheel him out, you would still vote for him.
Kamala Harris, Jill could walk out on stage with an urn saying, "This is the president." Okay, Joe Biden. Okay. Here he is, and I say, man, this is really annoying.
He did.
Destiny, you can't be serious.
Joe Biden said he wanted to be FDR, so, die in office, I guess.
Destiny, you would vote for Joe Biden's urn with his ashes inside rather than Donald Trump?
Absolutely. Easiest decision in my life. 100%,
Poor Kamala.
Francesca, would you do that?
Kamala's just like, are you kidding me?
Francesca, would you do that?
Would I vote for an urn?
Yes.
No. The Democratic Party is doing their own base a massive disservice by keeping Joe Biden in.
And folks, once again, that is just Trump derangement syndrome at its best right there. That is peak Trump derangement. We all thought Bill Maher had Trump derangement real bad. We all thought Cenk Uygur had Trump derangement real bad. Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, he does. But that is Trump derangement. He would vote over the ashes. He would vote for the ashes in an urn of Joe Biden over Donald Trump. That is how bad things are going, right? Like, who's going to run the office of the presidency? Like, who cares? It doesn't matter. He's not doing it anyway. They know this. That's why Destiny said that. And once again, I think he's being serious. It was put out there like a joke, but I don't think he's joking. Most people can see, once they saw that debate, even Democrats, once they saw that debate and saw the utter confusion that is Joe Biden's life right now, could see that, holy crap, he's not there. Who is running the country? That is the following question after you see that debate. Who is actually running the country? Because it's not Kamala Harris, right? It's not Jill Biden. It's the people in Joe Biden's administration. Once again, more evidence to that is like on Easter when he put out that tweet, that post on X of recognizing the Trans Day of Visibility or whatever. And then on Monday, when they asked him about it, he was like, no, he had no idea that post was put out. Right? So he doesn't know what's going on in his administration. We know that. So who's running the administration? That's something I would really love to know, and I bet you guys would probably like to know that, but I'm sure you guys have your speculation. So why don't you guys let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Who do you think is running the country? Would you vote for the urn with ashes of Joe Biden over Donald Trump? Yeah, I don't think that's a very good idea, to be honest with you. I think we need Donald Trump right now. I think Donald Trump is our best bet at cleaning up some of this corruption out of Washington, D.C., because it's outright insane. It is one of the most corrupt institutions in this country. Washington is a cesspool of BS, if you know what I mean. But I think that's all I got for this one, y'all. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.